It's a battle of premium proportions. Now we can compare phones in a couple different ways. I prefer focusing on MSRP as a way to categorize different devices. We can also look at the offerings from each company and try to match tiers. Often in tech reviews, you'll see a reviewer compare the best phone from one brand against the best phone from another, even if there are hundreds of dollars difference between the two. Recent changes to the Pixel have nudged up the price, while OnePlus is working even more aggressively at being a price disruptor. Both companies sent over their flagship phones for me to review and share my thoughts, but neither have requested any editorial oversight or had any influence over my content or this video, either from the manufacturers themselves or any affiliated PR. Starting off with design, I think I gotta give the win to the Pixel. Both are distinctive and both can come in a green flavor, though I prefer this bay blue. I really like blue on phones. The Pixel look has evolved into one of the more sophisticated looks. The camera visor is one of my favorites, and it's a functional look that also keeps the phone from wobbling on a table when you lay it down flat. A lot of folks in my comments have been making fun of the OnePlus look over the last couple generations, but I actually kind of dig it. And for the OnePlus 12, this is a bit more of a practical design. It's actually kind of clever when you know how these pieces all fit together, and OnePlus is using this space and this ring around the camera to help include other antennas. Because of that ring around the camera, we don't need these other little like frame cutouts to hide some of the other antennas. I just have to give OnePlus a bit of a knock that I wish these camera sensors were just a bit better centered on the phone. So again, like the Pixel, they wouldn't wobble as much when you lay it down flat on a table. I know they can do it because that's similar to the design language we see on the OnePlus Open. Around the phones though, I think OnePlus takes a win for some of the more practical feature add-ons, things like the notification rocker switch so you can quickly mute your phone. And then on the top that this has an IR blaster so that you can use this as a universal remote. It's not a runaway victory for the OnePlus because over the last couple updates, this temperature sensor here on the Pixel 8 has proven a bit more useful, especially now that it's rated to give you some kind of idea of human temperatures. It's not just how hot is my coffee? Now, I'd maybe give OnePlus the nod for having the better fingerprint unlock. It's really hard to do this side by side and try and keep this action fair to show on camera. But of course, Pixel's going to come right back. The Pixel 8 Pro having the more secure, I should say, the more secure face unlock, which the face scanning on a lot of our other Android phones is more just a sort of camera scan that might be more easily fooled by videos or photos. And getting into typing and haptics, they have different feels, and OnePlus has a few more options for controlling the feel of the haptics, but I'd say both have great motors, both are very responsive. Now, display tech is a lot closer than the specs on paper might make them sound. The OnePlus 12 does get a little brighter in short bursts, but it's certainly not as dramatic as the listed brightness might indicate. The OnePlus is slightly higher resolution, but to be honest, I'd trade the extra dots on the sides if we could do what the Pixel has done, going with the narrower form factor but the flat screen. Getting down into battery life and charging though, that's an easy win. This is a lifestyle win for the OnePlus 12. It's a more powerful but more power efficient chip than what Samsung can produce for Google on their Tensor line. The extra benefit of also having the more efficient Qualcomm radio and a larger battery capacity. And you've heard me prattle on about this in a bunch of other videos. The real fast charging is one of the biggest lifestyle perks that you can add to a premium tier phone. This phone can charge from completely empty to completely full about twice as fast as the Pixel can. And in that medium zone, where you might only be able to plug in for like 10 or 15 minutes, you can get a whole day of runtime in that sort of 20 to 80% battery range. It fundamentally changes your relationship with how you might be using your phone when you're out and about, when you might be looking for a charger. You really don't think about your phone until you need to top it off, and then it tops off really quickly, even wirelessly, where you can get pads that support up to 50-watt wireless charging, where this charges faster on a pad than this can charge plugged in with a cable. As mentioned, this also goes hand in hand with just general performance. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 is a more powerful chip than the Tensor 3. Nearly every test we can perform is a performance win for the Snapdragon. Gaming is better on the Snapdragon. Even local AI processing seems to be a win for the Snapdragon. Tensor 3 is an improvement in many ways over Tensor 2, and it catches Google up a lot more than I was expecting in a single generational update. but Qualcomm still takes a handy win in this particular showdown. But getting to the cameras, this conversation gets a little more nuanced. People like Pixel photos. The Pixel 8 Pro is the hands-down point-and-shoot camera champion. And the feature set has been spruced up with a few more of the pro and manual tools we've been asking for a while now. Both cameras are wonderfully consistent. If there's a feature available, it's found across all of their rear cameras, like RAW capture and high-res modes, 4K 60 video. Fun features like long exposure settings are found on both. Both are really solid if you want to use software portrait mode background blur. The OnePlus has a bit more of a sense of that Samsung processing lag that can get annoying at times, and there's a manual action shot mode to help alleviate that, where instead Google is so confident in their HDR processing that if there's a slight moment off or so there's some action blur, we've got unblur software tricks that might be able to correct for the shutter. I really like the exposure lock on the OnePlus 12, and the new master mode gives us control over the image processing, but it's missing the RAW Plus mode, which we had on the OnePlus Open. And this is where I would usually say the Pixel is a better point and shoot, and the OnePlus has better manual controls. But the lines between these two phones have blurred a bit more. The Pixel's now bringing some more manual controls, and the OnePlus is getting a lot better at those auto mode exposures. For the past 2 years, Pixels have had better camera sensors, but now OnePlus is competing directly and improves on the entire hardware fight, where it even manages to eke out a few wins, like getting a much closer focusing telephoto sensor. I like my macro shots more from the OnePlus than I do from the Pixel. Piece for piece, feature for feature, I have to call this overall a tie, while acknowledging in the most simplistic form that people who take phone from pocket and push shutter and then put phone back in pocket, the Pixel totally wins. The whole rest of the conversation is a vibrant and dynamic battle between two companies delivering the best cameras these brands have ever shipped. I mean, if you're spending more than $400, you should be digging into the features of your phone a little bit more than tech reviewers might give you credit for. I think we give the overall Android win to Google, with a few important honorable mentions for some of the clever things that OnePlus is doing. Assistant, search, and calling features, the Pixel is a better communicator device. Literally, call screening by itself has been a feature that keeps my SIM cards in Pixels longer than I would have expected. And while Android updates are getting a little less dramatic year over year, new Google software features will usually show up on a Pixel before any other brand, circle to search notwithstanding. And one of the main reasons I expect we see a higher price on the Pixel 8 Pro is the longer commitment to software updates, gaining a whole 2 years on the security updates promised by OnePlus. There are so many good ideas coming out of Oppo that I wish Google were paying attention to. Gestures are just smarter on a OnePlus, like floating windows being a simple swipe up. Advanced features are more clearly indicated on Oxygen OS, like menu dots in the multitasking view for things like split screening and locking apps in RAM. We're still on the hook, waiting for yet another developer preview that can put out video through the USB-C port on a Pixel. It's absolutely stunningly silly how we've gone for years on Pixel phones without the ability to put out video, which the OnePlus 12 just does natively. You plug in a cable and you plug in a monitor and everything just works. It's still useful even though we don't have a good proper desktop mode to pair it with, and then you can always add things like those really fancy XR glasses that I love showing off in my videos. And there's an interesting philosophical battle happening between more of the Asian manufacturers and what Google is doing with software services. A battle between Google's plans for server-side AI processing and Oppo's plans for on-device AI features. We can take something as simple as subject identification in a photo. Any photo, you long press on the OnePlus 12, and the phone outlines that and cuts it out. The cutout is saved with transparency around it, and OnePlus is using a similar dock on the 12 as to what we have on the Open, so you can quickly transfer that photo into another app. Again, a much smarter gesture action that allows us to cut something out, save it in a dock, and drag it to another app. This is brilliantly performed and so much smoother than trying to accomplish something similar on a Pixel. I've been using it for a lot of things like thumbnails for my videos, to quickly cut out a phone and add a glow or a blur behind the cutout. Google sold us on the idea of Tensor originally as a play to walk away from Qualcomm, who wasn't giving them the on-device machine learning capabilities and support that they wanted for their phones, but today, a lot of the most hyped Pixel features require a data connection. and they happen up in the cloud, like identifying a subject and cutting it out. I mean, it's cool that Google servers and Cloud Magic Editor can do a content-aware fill, but why does the photo need to be backed up in the cloud just to identify the subject? Again, on the OnePlus, that subject detection is on device and it's crazy fast. Google's play on stylized photos are kinda random. I've only gotten a few photos that have ever triggered a stylized edit. You put in data and then hope that something comes back out, but it rarely seems to. Or Video Boost mostly seems to be a series of edits or LUTs that could also be accomplished on device. I can match a lot of the processing for Video Boost in LumaFusion editing manually. Google spent a lot of money on data centers and servers, so it makes sense that they're looking for subscription services to monetize that AI, but that doesn't necessarily make the Pixel better, especially when all Androids will eventually receive those server-side features, and that means that those server-side features need to be utilized in areas that have excellent data. Might not always be able to count on good cell data, so it's more exciting to see the on-device AI features improve. It's a battle of philosophies. So it's never as simple as just giving like a number score or a grade. These are different phones for different consumers at different prices. The Pixel is the better phone. It's a premium communicator. It's a fantastic companion device that succeeds in those complementary situations. Google is doing better at supporting some of the more advanced stuff, but the soul of a Pixel is still focused on trying to streamline the user experience. The OnePlus is still the better computer, both hardware and software that enable more advanced use and support a broader range of accessories like portable displays. Like Google, though, you can see OnePlus is addressing some of their prior deficiencies, and on the surface, this flavor of Oxygen OS is a significant step in the right direction for customizing a phone but keeping the user flow a bit more straightforward. Both want to be a great consumer gadget. And while they're starting to meet in the middle, they're kind of both moving towards the center, they still each approach the challenge from different enough perspectives that I still don't know that I would seriously recommend both to the same consumer shopping a phone. Honestly, I don't think it should be too hard to ask a couple questions, rank someone's priorities, and come out with a winner between these two. But what complicates this comparison, though, is the price. At base model MSRP, the OnePlus is $200 cheaper. But if we take the Pixel and match the storage of the base model OnePlus, the Pixel grows to $250 more than the OnePlus 12. Or conversely, a OnePlus with 4 times more storage is $100 cheaper than the base model Pixel 8 Pro. How a phone hits someone's wallet, how that might influence a purchase, that's a personal decision everyone will have to work out on their own. I personally tend to lean on the hardware and the computery stuff, but what say you down in the comments? Between these two, right here, right in front of you, how would you rank or categorize a winner? What do you think consumers are really looking for? I await the tastiest of hot takes down in the comments below. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these videos, subscribing to the channel. All the support lately has been absolutely fantastic. Those of you clicking on links, maybe you visited my home site, SomeGadgetGuy.com, or maybe you're joining the list of names scrolling by up on your screen from my Patreon. That's patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list of names is basically the coolest collection of tech pals in the universe, and they get early access to my videos, they get my exclusive camera deep dives. They're basically the coolest, and literally none of my videos on this channel would be possible without their support, and I greatly thank all of the people on this list for helping to keep this channel running. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy, basically everywhere. But these days I'm trying to spend a bit more time on the Mastodons, sharing photos on the Flickrs, a little less so on the Instagrams and the Facebooks, and definitely not on the Twitters. And I will catch you all on the next comparison.